Welcome to the Land Investing Business Secret Podcast, where each short episode we talk about the strategies, experiences, and the tools to help you launch, grow, and scale your land business. Learn how to find freedom within your own business, find out ways to build consistency in your processes, and hear how other everyday land investors are winning so you can get to the next step closer to building your dream life through your land business. And I'm your host of the Land Investing Business Secrets Podcast by Pebble, Jesse Kwong. Hey, how's it going? It's Jesse here from the Land Investing Business Secrets Podcast. I've got an old friend. He's been on the show a while ago, and he is doing some incredible things with his community, with his students. He is somebody who I find is like really, really resourceful, and he's super open about it. And I said to him, hey, would you mind coming on, sharing what he recently shared on a webinar? It is what I call, or what he calls, his 13 niche list. It is really creative, some really, really tangible tools as well. So this is another pen and paper episode to building your list, finding leads, and finding properties. You're going to be blown away by how much Michael actually spends on mailing. He does mailing. That's his first sort of point of outreach. But you're going to be blown away because he really gets laser focused, and he's going to show exactly how he gets laser focused with his list. Anyways, enjoy this episode here with Michael Robertson on the Land Investing Business Secrets podcast. Cheers. Hey, how's it going, Michael? How are you doing?
Great to see you.
Here we both are getting excited and getting started on here. Michael, it's a pleasure to have you back on this show, and I'm really excited to talk to you about something actually very tactical. So those of you guys that are listening, you better get your pens and paper ready. I listened to, and I actually attended one of Michael's recent webinars here, and I thought it was really interesting. Michael, you are someone I find that is very creative. There's a few people that get really creative in the way that you dig for things and find things. So we'll get into that afterwards. But Michael, I've had you on the show a while ago now. And right. You definitely have a lot of experience in real estate in general. But, before we start getting into the tactical side of things, because, we may not be able to dig up some of our old shows and somebody's driving and listening to this right now, can you share a little bit about yourself and, how did you get into the land space?
I'll just give you a very brief background.
Sure.
In real estate for over 30 years, I won't date myself, but started off as an appraiser, built it into a nationwide appraisal company doing about 7,000 units a month. Sold it many years ago and started flipping houses in the San Francisco Bay Area, which was great. The market crashed in 2008 and I just needed a break. So got the bug back, and like everyone, started listening to the podcast and YouTube, and had heard about land. And I started thinking, normal, no tenants, no toilets, no inspections. I don't need appointments to see it. Sure. I don't need appointments to sell it. So it looked great, did a mailing, and bought the first lot for $100 and sold it 3 hours later for $1,000.
There you go. And I think those that are listening here probably don't need too much more convincing of how amazing land is. It's definitely one of those things that get overlooked by a lot of people. In fact, a lot of house people, when they come over into land, they're like, what is this? Like, no structure? Really? So awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Michael. Now, as I mentioned earlier, you do get creative. I've been in your group. I do enjoy the conversations going on in your groups within Facebook. And we'll talk a little bit more about how people can engage with you. But you have something, you literally coined the term 13 niche list. It's really how you find your properties and get specific kinds of lists. I'd love to go through what those lists are with you. But not only that, we'll take them one at a time. And, for somebody who's just starting brand new, and I'm going to pretend I'm starting brand new here, how do we get access, or how do we use it? And let's just sort of dive into it. So let's just sort of get right into it. How about that, Michael? Let's go through the 13 that you have here. And I thought that was really interesting. And some of you guys listening, you guys might know some of this already. There's definitely going to be some new ones on here, but let's start with the first one. What is that first? Should we start with it? Yeah, let's just jump right into it. What's that first one on the top of the list there, Michael?
Some of them are somewhat traditional, but some of them are somewhat creative too. And the data sources that I use, a lot of it is available in county records, and a lot of people just haven't explored it. So the first one I use, I call it our $100 list. And many times when we build a list, we want people that have owned for a long period of time. But for the $100 list, I want people that have owned for 5 years or less. And many times when a family member may quit claim a property to another family member, there's not an actual sales price, but in the county records, there's a placeholder. And so many times it's $10 or $100, kind of a nominal amount. So I go into my county and I'll do a search for the last 5 years, and then I'll pull up and I'll put sales price $100 to $100. And again, my time parameter is 5 years, but then I can click on document type and property type. Well, the document type I put on is probate, quit claim, or death certificate. And that means, some person on title may have passed away. The mother that lives in Florida may have quit claimed the property to the son in California, and what he really has is a tax bill, or it may have gone through probate. And so in those circumstances, many times it's someone that acquired the property, but what they really acquired is a tax bill. And I call that our $100 list. It's very effective.
Your $100 list. Interesting. So do most counties have access to something like this?
Well, it does vary by county. And in the counties, there are 4 or 5, 6 different county websites I use to gather data. So again, with 3,100 plus counties in the United States, it does vary. But then there are data providers as well that can accommodate you.
Okay, the $100 list. That's number one. Okay, what's number 2 on the list there, Michael?
I'll go ahead and run my traditional data using propstream or data tree and what have you and build it. But then I run it through another tool. And the other tool that I run it through is called Versum.
Yes.
Versum is a great tool, but it can be costly. So for my teammates, I'll break it up into bite-sized pieces, but typically the cost is approximately $3,600. That's the minimum fee that lets me do certain things to about 70,000 records.
Okay.
But what it will give me people's age. So I'll do a campaign to people. I built my list through PropStream. They've owned for 20 years or longer, but I can run that list through Versum, and I can do a campaign to people that are 65 or over.
Ah.
So now they've owned it for 20 years. They may live out of state and they're 65 or over. They're never going to use the property.
Right.
And that is one of the data fields in Versum. Another one that I can use is people with low income. So I can pull up their annual income and I can do a campaign to people that are making $20,000 or less, $50,000 or less. And another column is net worth. So I can slice and dice this data by so many fields. But what I like best out of all that, credit score.
Wow.
So I'm not going to get a credit score hit on my whole list, but say I get it on approximately 50%.
Yep.
I can sort my list by someone that's over 65, that has owned it for 20 years or longer, that's making $30,000 or less, that has a terrible credit score. Well, those people need to sell. Gotcha. So I'll go ahead and run it through Versum, but it will also give me, phone numbers, emails, how many credit cards they have. And so there are 3 or 4 lists that I get after I've run my traditional list through Versum.
Got you. So you kind of get your list and then you start segmenting with Versum. Now,
right.
A couple follow-up questions. You mentioned PropStream, DataTree, couple very popular platforms for getting data. Do you see either one outperforming the other? Do you ever notice any difference?
I've used pretty much all the data sources out there. There are certain reasons I like DataTree. It gives you longitude and latitude, and you have a great postcard product where it shows your property here.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love that. I use PropStream because I have a small group of teammates, I call them, not students. And PropStream is priced month to month. So right. I want to be sensitive to people's budgets.
Right.
So I primarily use PropStream, but I love DataTree for some other reasons.
How do you feel? So I know in the budget world, looking at data, have you ever tried something like Property Radar?
I haven't used them. I think I've used 90% of them, but
So property.
Go ahead.
I feel like Property Radar is a great one. It's actually quite comparable to PropStream. Could be slightly lower. I believe the data source is from the same place. from my discussion with other people in the space, and I encourage you to check it out. It's the data source I started with, Property Radar, and it's still very low key. Not that it's a great thing or anything, but one of the things I like about Property Radar is you can actually get emails, social profiles, and phone numbers as well. So it used to be only on the West Coast, mostly on the West Coast states, but now it's nationwide. I've had the founder on the podcast a long time ago, so I encourage you guys to check it out. I don't have an affiliate link or anything like that. Just
Right.
Property Radar. Check that one out. So now, very interesting. You use something called Versum. Let's talk about that a little bit. Now, you said 70,000 record. Do you have the opportunity to? I mean, 70,000 is a lot, right? So you could potentially, if you can't afford 3,600 for, is it just for the credit, 70,000 credit?
Yeah, their pricing is a little unique. They call them, there's 210,000 credits, but to actually get a full record takes me approximately 3 credits that equates to 70,000 records.
Okay,
So,
thank you for doing that math. Yeah.
approximately 5 cents a lead.
So you could
I mean,
really like split that with somebody and share. I mean, that's still a lot. 70,000 property
Right.
owners across, that would, for many people, that would take them a year to or more to use up. So that might be something.
it's good for a year. So if you don't use
Okay.
it, you lose it.
Yeah, okay, got you. So this is even better. Maybe more reason to split with somebody, and then when you guys complete that, you guys can buy another batch of credits. Just for those that are listening here, or you could even split it 4 ways. Anyways, we won't get into that. Now, from there, you can go for the age 65 and over because they're never going to use the property. You mentioned their net worth. Tell us a little bit about the net worth. What's the logic behind that? I understand the credit score.
They're a data aggregator, so they get their data from, I don't know, hundreds of sources. So it'll give me annual income and net worth, but it will also show me if they own houses, how long they've owned them, what the mortgages are. So it gives me a lot of data fields. Some I rely on more than others, but
Gotcha.
are they married? Are they single? I mean, it goes on and on.
Okay, got you. All right, so that's another list there. Let's go on to the next. I don't know if that all the Versum, was that counted as like your second list there, or was that?
There are 3 or 4 in there. I'll do, because we'll do a campaign to 65 and over. We'll do one by credit scores,
right.
And what have you. Other ones that I use when someone wants to do a deal quick, I go to the tax deed sales. Depending on the county, sometimes it'll tell you if it's vacant land or not. So sometimes it's somewhat of a manual process. But my next tax deed sale opportunity is June 4th. So if I want to buy a property now, I prefer to not go to the auction because I'm bidding against other people.
Yeah.
And in Florida, if I buy the property at the auction, the people that lost it have 4 years to come back and redeem that property.
Oh, no way.
I don't have a warranty deed.
Okay.
So the ideal situation is to get it before the auction. That way I can go ahead and not compete with other people bidding, but I also can get a warranty deed.
Now, how does one go and find the tax deed sale?
Yeah, I just Googled tax deed sales, Escambia County, Florida. It will pull up a list of the 4 or 5 months out in the future, but also the past 10 or 15 years.
Okay.
And out of the past 10 or 15 years, we create another list.
Okay. And then with that list, you actually still are marketing to those properties before they go to the auction, correct?
Yeah. So if they're going to give it to you 5 months out in advance, the ideal situation is mail to them every month or contact them every month for the 5 months going up to it.
Wow.
Because the closer it gets, there's more urgency.
Okay. So you're really hitting them every single month right up until this. Okay, got you. Now, you're also a Pebble user, so you can easily just create a campaign, recreate the campaign, just continue to hit them with follow-up. Awesome. Okay.
Automated. Yeah.
Awesome.
And then also with tax deed sales, we went back 10 years and we went through all the properties.
Yep.
And we looked at all the people that redeemed the properties right before the sale. That means they paid their back taxes. And if they redeemed it and they still own it, the theory is they're in that situation once. They're a good candidate to be in that situation again. So we want to continuously market to them.
Okay, so let's take that a step back again. So you have a tax deed sale list, but you're going back 10 years to market to those people. And the logic is because if they're in that situation before, they're probably going to be in that situation again, or they're more likely to be in that situation again.
Yeah, more likely.
Yeah.
So, abuse your credit cards once, you're probably going to abuse them again. So it's
Right.
kind of the same theory.
Got you. Got you. I love that. All right. This is really creative. All right. Let's go on to the next list then.
Yeah, expired MLS listings.
Okay.
So what I'll do, I don't want to go ahead and build a list of someone that tried to sell their property and it failed 2 months ago. I'm just not interested in that. So typically, I'll go from people that tried to sell their property on the multiple listing from about 2 years ago to 6 or 7 years ago. So I already knew that they tried to sell them. It failed, but I know what they were asking for their property.
Hmm.
And now I've got 2 to 6 years of appreciation. So an example was from the exact same list, the woman tried to sell her property for $10,000 3 years before. We marketed to her. I offered her $10,300. She accepted it. We sold it 3 days later for $25,000.
Wow. Okay. Awesome. Now, how does one actually find the expired MLS listings?
Yeah, I have access to the multiple listing for the market that I work in.
Right.
So,
You would
I can
need
go
to.
ahead and just pull that up very, very easily. I'm not sure if you can do that on tools like Redfin, Zillow, and Realtor.com. I don't know.
Okay. Do you have to be a certified real estate agent in order to get access to MLS typically?
Either that or have a relationship with a broker, and
Okay.
I'm the broker's assistant.
Right. Got you. Got you.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. The expired MLS listing list. Awesome. All right. The next one there.
Yeah. Let's see. Some of them are typical people that have owned for 10 or 15 years that live out of state,
Yep.
or if that's not enough records, I'll also search out of county.
Okay.
And so that would be another list. And these lists also, I'm going to take them and run them through Versum to fine tune them.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then if they are local, I buy many properties from people that are local. But then I typically put in there for a filter they've owned for 20 years or longer. We just did one. The guy bought it in 2001 for
Mhm.
$10,000. I bought it 33 years later for 6,000. He was in his 80s. He was just tired of it, and we sold it for 29.5.
Wow. Amazing. Out of state owners, you can easily get that through your list providers. That shouldn't
Yeah,
be too
yeah.
challenging.
Data tree, propstream.
Yeah. It really sounds like Versium is such a valuable tool, especially the whole age thing. I think that is such an interesting. I mean, when you look at Versium and the way that it segments, you've got age, net worth, low income, credit score. Which one do you think typically does better?
I would say two. One is 65 or over, and I try to be very sensitive to that too.
Right,
And you can pull up whether they're married or they're single, and I want to be sensitive to that also.
right.
That maybe if it was a husband and wife, and 30 years ago they had this dream of building on the lot, and maybe one of the spouses had passed away,
Yeah,
they really don't want the property anymore.
yeah.
That is one, but the credit scores is a great one too.
Okay. Age and credit score. I hope all of you guys listening are jotting these notes down from Michael. All right, let's keep going. We just talk about the out of state and the
Yeah,
local.
I've
What else do we have?
got probate.
Okay, tell us a little bit about
So,
what probate is.
um, well, typically, and I'll give you a specific example. A list that we pull that has to do with probate, we can pull up the person on the appraiser record, and sometimes it says in the estate of. That typically means they passed away. And then I look at the mailing address, and it says in care of. So it was in the estate of someone, the mail's going to someone else, and many times they're behind on taxes. So now the person that the tax bill is going to, they don't want to pay the taxes and they don't want to pay for probate. So in Florida, I work with Al Nicoletti. He's a great probate attorney, and I don't want to pay for the probate, and the person that is getting the tax bill doesn't want to pay for the probate. He has a great scenario where we can go ahead and help the people with the probate situation, and probate can be funded out of escrow. So
Oh,
I'm not directly writing a check, and the person who's getting the tax bill is not directly writing the check.
right.
And now I can go to them and say, I we talk about the situation. I'm building rapport and I want to be sensitive, but I think I have a solution for you that I can take care of this, that you will not have to come out of pocket, and we can go ahead and put some funds in your pocket.
Amazing. Okay. Now, how do we go ahead and find a probate list?
Um, you can do that through the county records. There are many services that will go ahead and provide that. Fortunately, I've got great online tools for my county.
Mm.
So um,
It's really county dependent. Is that
another
what
way I go about it, I'll go ahead into the appraiser's record and I'll search by, in the search bar under name, I'll put EST. And sometimes I will bring up all the people that have
Oh.
in the estate of there, or at all, ETAL. And then that means there's multiple people on title. And
Ah.
now they're having, there's 4 heirs and no one's going to pay the taxes, but they all want the revenue. Um, that all kind of falls under probate.
Got you. All right. The EST and the ETAL, right?
Right.
ETAL. Okay. Thanks for sharing that. All right. Our next one. So, what's the next one after the
Yeah.
probate?
Just delinquent taxes.
Yeah.
I pull up my account and there's, I think, 16,359 people that are currently behind on their taxes. What it doesn't necessarily give you is it vacant land or not.
Hmm.
So then there's another step. The 2 steps that I do, I go pull a list of the vacant land that I want in my county. And on that list, there's going to be an account number.
Okay.
Well, if I pull the delinquent taxes, every one of those is going to have an account number. So if the account number is on both lists, I now have a list of vacant land where they're behind on their taxes. And we're working on that list right now. I think there's about 950 people that have vacant land of the type that I want, the right size, the right assessed value, that are behind on the taxes. And that's another campaign right there, delinquent
So,
taxes.
logistically, here, you're going to the county, you're getting the tax delinquent list, and then you're also pulling a list from a data list provider, right? And you're saying that both have a corresponding account number, or is it the
Right.
APN you're talking about?
Yeah. Well, mine is an account number, the account number that's associated with that tax bill.
Okay. Okay. Got you.
It's not an APN, it's an
So
account
they
number.
exist on both documents.
Right.
You cross reference, you find what's common, that's your list.
Right.
Okay. And so is it quite a lot of work for you to have to cross reference the 2 documents to find out?
Um, to pull the list takes me 10 or 15 minutes. I'm not the Excel genius, so I have Louise that helps me with that,
Yeah.
and she is much better. It would take me too long to figure out.
You know what? I bet you could upload those 2 documents onto ChatGPT, your premium version. Say, here's the account number column. On this document, here's the other document with the account column. Create a new document, pulling all the rows from the tax delinquent list, and this merge into a new document that share the same common number. I bet you could do that. It would just have to figure out what the exact prompt is, but you would use natural language to that. So I encourage somebody to try that out. Louise, if you're listening, and I know Louise is amazing. By the way, if you guys want to see an amazing assistant at work, go meet Louise and the way that she runs the show with Michael here. Like, really, like it's amazing of how she's on top of things. She's always, not only that, she's got a great personality to cheer on your students, your team members, and whatnot. So really cool to see her in action. So if you guys want to just see what a great VA or assistant looks like, check out Michael Robertson. Just join his groups, right? But yes, I'd encourage you guys to test that out on ChatGPT, and that would be on the premium version. That it's only $20. I think it would save a lot of people time. So.
Yeah,
All right.
great pointer. Great pointer.
Yeah. The tax delinquent list. Okay. And the next one.
Code enforcement liens.
Okay. What is that?
Well, typically for vacant land, let's say someone has this big dead tree and it's hanging there and maybe it's kind of over the neighbor's fence, and they get a complaint. And so the county will get a complaint, and eventually they'll give them 2 weeks to remove it or clean up that nuisance, or maybe the weeds are way overgrown, what have you. And then they'll start fining them. And those fines can go anywhere from $25 to, say, $100 a day. Well, $50 a day is $18,000 a year in fines.
Okay.
So the daily fines are what's called soft cost. Then there are hard costs. So hard cost, we just bought a lot 2 weeks ago. It had a house that had to be torn down. The owner didn't tear it down. The county went in there and tore it down and fined the homeowner $7,500 because the county had to pay the contractor to do that. So we bought the lot for 8,000. The seller had to come with money to close escrow, but that $7,500 would not be waived.
Okay.
That's hard cost. But if there's soft costs, say the $18,000 for a tree that was never removed,
Yep.
most sellers don't know this, but once the property's in my name, I can get that $18,000 removed. So we
Oh,
make money off of code enforcement liens.
no way. Okay. All right. And how do you come across a list like that?
Um, some counties will go ahead and give it to you. Even the county I'm in will not give it to me, but if I go to the recorder's office, there I can search all the public record documents, and one of the fields is liens. And just from going in there and playing around, and I was on this earlier before we started, one is called CCO, which is a certified cost order. So I can pull all the liens and do certified cost order, and I can pull all the properties that have those type of code enforcement liens.
Ah,
But I don't know if it's vacant land or not.
okay. So,
So sometimes there's kind of a uh, certain price point for a specific type of lien.
right.
So if the county has to go in and mow your yard, it's overgrown, it's $219. Well, I can sort by $219 and I bring up all the vacant land where the county had to go in there and clean them up. And sometimes they have 14 or 15 of them.
Wow.
Well, they're not paying their liens. They don't want the property. And that's another niche list.
Wow. Okay, got you. All right, the code enforcement lien. What is the next one after that?
I love return mail. So, we like to mail first class. So when it comes back, most people get it back and it sits on the floor.
Yep.
There are many, free skip tracing tools, but when I get one returned, I use a tool called IDI Core. And it takes 3 or 4 weeks to get approved. It was $1 search. It's now $1.75 a search. But very quickly, I'm okay with that. Very quickly, it will give me emails, phone numbers, bankruptcies, liens, judgments, criminal history, business licenses, business affiliations,
Wow.
relatives, and then I can skip trace them. So, so these people that are typically getting 4 or 5 letters, well, it came back, and then I can be on the phone with them like that, and you know, many times it's a good quality lead, so it's worth the extra $1.75.
So what you're telling me is because they can't be reached by mail, you're gonna follow up with them and get a hold of them another way. You're gonna skip trace them, find out their contact, and get
Right.
on the call with them.
And then when the mail comes back, we'll do some due diligence so we're not just wasting the $1.75. Make sure, does it have flood zones and wetlands and what
So
have you, that
okay.
it's one we want to follow up with.
So there are certain preliminaries that you'll go through to filter out some of that return mail. I'm assuming you don't do it. You probably have somebody on the team who quickly goes through that and sorts
Right.
that through. Okay, amazing, awesome. I love that. So you typically start with mailing as your first sort of outbound marketing for properties. Is that right?
We do a lot less mail than most people.
Okay.
So I know people that are doing 7,000 letters a month.
Yep.
I do 5,000 a year.
Okay. Wow.
And so first we build a great list, and then we filter the list and refilter it and dig in these niches. And so our best success rate, we mailed out 3,000 letters. We bought 11 properties, which is one out of every 272 pieces of mail.
No way. Wow. So you spend a lot on the upfront in terms of time and resources cleaning up that list. So you're not spending on mailing. And so you mail less. Wow. Amazing. And again, so I guess with some of these filters that you're talking about in the list here, this is how you go about it.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a little more laser focused as opposed to a shotgun approach.
yeah. I mean, you get a chance to talk to a lot of people who are starting out and you help a lot of people who are starting out. Um, and we'll get to that. But is there always a hesitancy for that because you're getting hyper focused? do they ever sort of come with a little bit of resistance? Maybe they come from hearing other land investors where it's more of a shotgun approach. What do you typically hear?
I've got people in our group that have taken other courses where they spent $35,000 or $42,000. And then we have a lot of people that have no real estate experience. So
Mm,
um, they kind of just go with my advice.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I haven't really run into any resistance.
Okay, all right. Okay, return mail. What's sort of? I think I'm losing track of where we are. I think we're around number 10, but some of them were kind of separated, so I'm not
Yeah.
sure here. What's after
Um,
number 10 here? Let's just say,
uh, Single parents with 4 to 9 credit lines.
wow. How do you find that?
Well, if we run it through Versum, and it will show us how many credit cards they have and what type they are.
It goes that far. Wow. Okay. So there's an ability to find how many credit cards they have, and then you can sort of also single parent. Is that sort of the other one you mentioned, right?
Right. They many times are having a financial hardship.
Okay. Awesome. Another great filter with Versum. Okay. And what's after that then?
Let's see, the $100 list,
Yep.
people that are out of state and out of county, 20 years or local, quick claim, single parents, 4 to 9 credit lines, probate, credit scores under 599, unpaid taxes, code enforcement liens, failed listings 3 to 5 years, properties that are going to tax deed sale or have gone in the past 10 years, campaign 65 and over, and return mail.
I think we got them. Got them all here. Now I have one on the list, Michael. I hope you don't mind me mentioning this. You had here low FICO 499 under. What does that exactly mean?
Yeah, well, when we go ahead and run it through Versum, it will give you a credit rating. It's not necessarily a FICO, it's a
Oh,
FICO.
okay, got you.
Yeah, it's a FICO-like score. So, and you can slice and dice out how you want.
Yeah.
It can be under 500, 5 to 550, 550 to 600, basically. And then we can go ahead and focus on the people that build a list of people that are likely to sell, and then we try to build it down to a list of people that need to sell.
All right. Hey, I hope you're enjoying this like hugely tactical episode here with Michael. One of the things I love about Michael is he's super resourceful, but he's also somebody who's got his systems down. He relies a lot on automation, but you heard him talk about his team. And I mentioned in this episode here, Louise, his assistant, how amazing she is and how organized they are. One of the things that I do and I'm so passionate about is building an organized and streamlined business. I mean, obviously that's why we have Pebble, but something I talk a lot about is the Dirt Hacker Challenge. I've shortened it now to a 3-day, intense boot camp challenge. It's not a contest or anything like that. It is really a boot camp workshop. And it's called Dirt Hacker. If you go to dirthackerchallenge.com, it's 3 days on really getting on track to building a sustainable and scalable business. And I really mean that when we talk about sustainable. I've seen too many people come into land because you can get away with sloppiness earlier of just doing everything on pen and paper, not having processes, not hiring anybody. It really caps you. And not only that, the space continues to get more competitive, and we start to see that we have to act like a real business. And this is what the Dirt Hacker Challenge is all about. It's really hacking away what you have and starting from the ground up. How do we build a sustainable, scalable business? We talk about everything from, how do we create playbooks and SOPs? That's really like what I call the unsexy but sexy thing about scaling a business. I have something called the T-Rex framework to building automations. What should we not be automating? What should we start with? How do we find those tasks? I have something called the Zapier Mapper where we spend some time on focusing on Zapier. We now start covering some of the AI side of things as well. I go through something called the hiring funnel, some of the hard lessons that I've learned building the team over at Pebble, which is directly, the same thing as building a team for a land business as well. I talk about the 90-day game plan to how do we filter out, especially for generalists, when we have a lot of people applying for a VA role. How do we filter those out and make sure that hiring is easy and you're going to hone in on the right person? Anyways, I talk all about this. It's called the hack framework as well. I play a lot with the hack word, but it's dirthackerchallenge.com. I've made this ridiculously accessible for all you guys. You can sign up I'm going to send you a couple free things, including this book here, Real Land Talk. This is 200 pages of just the gems that I've gotten from these podcast interviews, like this episode here with Michael Robertson. You can only get this through signing up for that challenge. There's no other place you can get that. You'll also get an extended access into Pebble right up until the end of the challenge without paying for anything. That's all included. It is at a ridiculous price. Head over to dirthackerchallenge.com. I will send this to you. Again, this is not available on Amazon, and a couple other free books as well. Anyways, I'll see you on the next month's Dirt Hacker Challenge. I do it every single month. Other than that, enjoy the rest of this episode here with Michael Robertson. And thank you for sharing, the 13 niche list that you have put together. I think this is incredibly resourceful, and it's also very smart to really hone in on your data. It's definitely a different approach. I always tell a lot of people, everything works. You just have to get into it, get in the weeds, and figure it out. And it looks like you've got a system for that, and it sounds like you are actually executing on that system with your own team, which is really cool to see. I'd love to know, one thing I'm going to try to introduce in this podcast is, can you walk us through your latest deal? What are some of the learnings? So maybe walk us through, how did you find the property? How did you market to it? What did they, what kind of marketing they replied to? And was there any learning lessons from that?
Yeah. The one that we just got, it was, we actually got a call from code enforcement, and they called us and wanted to know, would it be okay if we give this person our information instead of having the person call us? So the person that had this difficult situation, she just wanted to get rid of the property, and we were there to solve her issue. And we offered her $10,000, and the property had more issues, so we renegotiated down to $8,000. When she came to close, she had to write a check for about $1,500 to get rid of the property.
Okay.
So we bought it for $8,000, and then we turned it around and we listed it with the realtor for $21,900.
Is that sold?
It's on the market right now.
Okay. And you said code enforcement reached out to you. Why would they have reached out to you? Are you just known in the area?
We bought properties, and we go to code enforcement. We've had the soft costs waived. Okay. So you develop a relationship.
Wow. Okay. That's so important to know, I guess, out of this, how important relationships are as now properties are coming to you, which is amazing. So thank you for sharing that with us. Michael, I would love to run you through what I call the quick fire round. It's been so tactical this first half. Typically it's like we kind of get to know you and then we get into the weeds of things. We just went right at the list, and I would love for people to just know you. So I've got a few questions that have nothing to do with land. I would love to personally get to know you a little bit better here. So first question here, outside of land, Michael, what do you like doing?
I would say I love the mountains. I'm originally from California. I love the Sierra Nevadas, but besides that, family, I've got 4 daughters. They are wonderful. They're older. My mom's 94 and lives in California, so I go from Florida to California about every 2 months. She's great, independent.
Wow.
Besides that, get outdoors.
I love that. What would you say is your biggest pet peeve?
My biggest pet peeve? I've been trying to get hold of planning and zoning since last Tuesday. I called them last Tuesday, last Wednesday, today, and I had a couple other people that I called, and just people don't want to get on the phone. Are
you someone who just likes to be on the phone?
I'm a little bit more old fashioned. We text.
Yeah.
I text my mom.
Yeah.
But I just get on the. A lot of people want to find everything on the internet. If you can't find something, and I want to talk to planning and zoning, I got on and looked up all the regulations first.
Right.
If I want to build a list, I'll see what I can find.
Yeah.
But if I want to get code enforcement information and I can't find it online, call them.
Awesome. Okay, I see you've got a lot of books behind you. I'm assuming you're a reader, okay? If you had to recommend one book that you've recently read, what would it be and why? It doesn't have to be land related, but anything in general.
Well, a lot that I've been studying is Eddie Speed, who has Note School, and he's got a lot of great techniques on how to put deals together that people may not go for a cash offer. It has a lot to do with owner financing and developing notes. So I've been following everything that Eddie Speed has.
Well, is this a book? Is there a specific title?
Yeah, I don't recall the titles right now. He's got 2 or 3 of them, but I've been Eddie speeding for the last 5 days probably.
I love it. I love it. Okay, here's another one. What's one bad habit that you're actively working on?
I'm inconsistent. I'm healthy, but I'm inconsistent. So I'll exercise and I'm good for a month, and then I hit a lull, or my eating habits are great,
Yeah.
and then I'm in the cookies and what have you. But try to be a little more consistent.
I feel you on that one. Okay, you've been great to interview here. I'll leave you with one more question. Who would you recommend to have on this podcast that might not have come on the podcast, and why?
Oh my goodness. I don't, I would say Eddie Speed. He's been in the note business for 40 years, over 40 years. I took his class 15 years ago, and many times the seller will want the cash offer, and he's got so many solutions that I think that I'll be able to do so many more deals with seller financing. And if you get a chance, he's got a YouTube channel called Note School. If you go ahead and check that out, the information is amazing. But I hope I can share what I'm going to learn in a 3-day class next week with my teammates and enable them to do many more deals.
Amazing. You've been awesome, Michael, and it's always a pleasure to talk to you and the amount of positivity that you have. And I really feel like you're someone with an abundance mindset as well. You've been so open to sharing. You've always been like that since day one meeting you. I want people to figure out how can they get a hold of you? How can they engage with you? Where can they find you?
Yeah, I'm Facebook Messenger. Emails Michael at mylandfamily.com. I am so open. My cell phone's 850-377-2203. And Jesse, we've never met in person, but I'm going to be going to an event, I think June 28th and 29th in Colorado.
Yes.
Yeah, and you're one of the speakers there, and I'm an attendee, but I look forward to meeting you and many other people as well.
Oh man, it's going to be a pleasure. Actually, a lot of people I'm going to finally have some for. I've been to a few events before, but obviously not everybody's there. But yeah, for those of you who are listening, it's milkhoney.land. I don't know if it's a sold out event yet, but it's going to be awesome to connect with all of you guys. And I know you've got some great Facebook groups as well, right? What's the Facebook group that people can sort of get in, or is it a private group?
We just changed the name of it, so bear with me. Land Flipping #4 Real Estate Professionals.
Okay, got you.
And we have people that have no real estate experience, people that have extensive experience, people that have done one deal, people that do 600 deals a year. So quite a variety.
Okay, I will make sure to include all of that in the show notes for all of you guys. And again, you have Michael's phone number. He sometimes does run a webinar. I hope I'm not stepping over the line by mentioning that. So make sure you do check that out. And I thought it was fantastic. I attended that myself. Michael, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. I would love to have you back on. And thank you for being so open to sharing with us your 13 niche list and all the things that you do, the resourceful things that you do. Michael, we very much appreciate you.
See you in 1 month.
Take care.
Thank you.
Before you stop this episode or hit the next episode, I want to personally thank you for listening to this episode of the Land Investing Business Secrets podcast by Pebble. If you found this helpful, we greatly appreciate any awesome reviews and ratings on whichever platform you are listening to this on. And if you have 2 minutes and wanted to step it up even more and help others, feel free to share this in other Facebook groups or pages or any communities, giving others a heads up of the Land Investing Business Secrets podcast or the specific episode that may help them on their land investing journey. Once again, thanks so much for listening, and catch you on our next episode.